Welcome to the AI Queens podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs learn to ditch the overwhelm, embrace AI, and build businesses fit for royalty. I'm Erica Stanley, your host and tech expert, here to deliver tools, tips, and actionable strategies to help you scale smarter. Let's get to it. Hello, Queens, and welcome back to the AI Queens podcast. This week, we have Sarah Heater with us, back with us again for the second time. I'm so excited to have Sarah back. She is the founder and CEO of Podfox Media, a podcast production and strategy company that she's been building full-time since 2019. She has produced more than 5,000 episodes, including every single one of our episodes here of AI Queens. And her clients are in the top 1% of shows globally. She's got a background in marketing, public policy, education, and she sits at the intersection of strategic communications and small business ownership. Sarah, welcome to the AI Queens podcast.
Thanks so much for having me back. Obviously, big fan of the show.
I'm so glad you decided to come back again. For those of you who listen to this podcast regularly, you know I have guests on here that I kind of like to nerd out with about AI. And Sarah and I talk pretty regularly, both a personal and professional relationship, and we always end up nerding out about AI. And so we wanted to just come on and share a little bit about, give you guys a little insight into the things that we talk about and the things that we are building, because it's so cool when you're talking with someone and you just get so excited about the things that you're doing and building.
You've inspired me so much, Erica, and I'm sure I'm not alone, but you're the person I want to talk to when I read something about AI, when I try something new with AI, when I'm struggling with something. You're always the first person that I want to reach out to and nerd out with about it. And I think what you do with your brand to bot blueprint. Oh my gosh, I have so much trouble saying that. By the way, brand to blot is what comes out every time. Anyways, with your brand to bot blueprint, the way you think about building to overcome obstacles, to work through tension, to like streamline, make things easier, that is so contagious and it's so inspirational. And so you've impacted and this podcast, the way that I think about how I solve problems and make decisions in my business, and like leveraging and honing the power of AI in order to do that. And I know I'm not alone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like, that is such a huge compliment. And I'm glad to hear you say that. I try really hard to encourage people to use it to solve problems instead of just to answer questions. And so that's the biggest compliment you can give me, that you're using it to do big things. I know you are using it to do big things.
I think I just want to repeat what you said. Use it to solve problems and not just answer questions. That is literally like, I feel like the thesis of what you do, but also what we're going to talk about today, because I think that's like the biggest, and I think we talked about this the last time I was on with like a misconception or something that I wanted, is like, I feel like people use it, but they're underutilizing it, right? Like what it's actually capable of and how it's meant to work is not just like, I even say there's this commercial that's going around right now on, I don't know if it's on YouTube or like a streaming service for ChatGPT. And it's like a middle-aged or older woman using the voice feature. And she's like, oh, is it still raining outside? Oh, what time should I leave to catch my train? And I hate commercials like this. And this is from ChatGPT because it's like, they know that that's completely underutilizing the tool. We don't need it for those things. We already have answers to those questions. Like in 2 taps, I can see what the weather forecast looks like over the coming hours, right? Like I don't need ChatGPT for that. It would take me longer to get into ChatGPT and use the voice feature to ask it that question than to just use the tech that already exists. So that's such a like underutilization. And I think if people talked more like you do about how to use it to solve problems instead of answer questions, I think they would find that's really where the magic is.
Yeah, it is one of the biggest shifts that I see when I work with clients and we start to like just put little pieces of AI into their business in specific places. It's like, oh, I can do more with it than just have it write a caption, help me rephrase this email. At this point, that's like the bar is very low. um,
Totally.
so Claude, just in the last couple of weeks, Claude has made the shift where it used to be 3 separate platforms. So it was Claude Chat, Claude Cowork, and Claude Code. And they have kind of combined Cowork and Chat into the same window. You still have to choose Cowork or Chat, but at least it's in the same frame. And I think that they are like gradually pushing people in that direction of like, okay, now have it go do something for you. Now have it go like reach and grab a thing and bring it back and then do something with it. It's right there. And I feel like people are so close. They just don't, I don't know if they don't realize what it can do or haven't played with the capabilities, haven't had anyone show them, hey, I'm here. I can help with that. I'm happy to show you. But yeah, or maybe we just all got so used to chatting that now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like automation. I think you kind of have to retrain your brain to think of how to solve problems in terms of either automation or AI, insert whichever one you're talking about. And I feel like Zapier or any of those kind of hook and then trigger, like a trigger action and then whatever the next action is, those kind of workflows. I feel like it's the same kind of thing where when that first really started becoming popular, and I think this is even still true, people hear about it. They're like, this is so useful. I want to have automations, but can you tell me what kind of automations I should even have? Like, what should I start building? What things should I automate? And like, what would those workflows look like? And it isn't until you start building them that your brain starts thinking, like seeing the world in a new way, where like, then when you do any task after you've built enough automations, when you do any task, you start thinking like, I can picture exactly what this workflow would look like in Zapier. Like now the question is it integrated? Like, will that work? And then with things like the different versions of Claude, it's the same thing. I think once you start doing it, that's when it gets easier to start thinking in those terms. And so I've just reached this kind of pedal to the metal point, which is definitely your influence of instead of paying for things, I automatically want to see if I can build it first. Like, why would I buy somebody else's out of the box solution that isn't actually going to work for me in all ways? I'm going to have to make it work when I could build exactly the thing that I want in a couple of sittings. But that does take practice to get to that point. Like you have to like debug it. And also I think, and we'll talk about this too with the things that the specific projects we've been building recently, but building a minimum viable product, finding out what doesn't work or what could work better, especially if you're bringing users into the thing that you built, then getting their feedback or their actual user experience and finding out like, okay, this would be slightly better if I tweaked this. Like that is one of the downsides of building it yourself is trying to think of all the contingencies of what the user experience could be. So it's not like it's all sunshine and daisies. I'm not trying to say that, but it's so fun. It's addicting.
It is addicting. I think the other downsides I see, there is no customer support.
True.
You are the customer support. You and Claude, baby, you're just chatting away trying to figure stuff out. But there's no customer support and sometimes things just don't work. I was trying to build a shortcut into my phone. I'm doing this steps challenge where I'm trying to hit a certain number of steps per day because I sit on my ass in my office too much. And so I'm trying to like get out and walk. And I just wanted to set up an automation in my phone so it would go into Apple Health. If I have not hit 5,000 steps by 2 p.m., that it would send me a text message. And that should be a pretty easy shortcut. Apple shortcuts have come a really long way. But I got the whole thing set up. I went through the steps. I was like screenshotting and sending this. I was using Gemini. I was screenshotting and sending step by step, like, okay, here's what I've got now. Now what do I do? Now what do I do? And going back and forth. And I got everything set up and the damn thing didn't work. And I kept changing the time to like 1 minute later so I could test it again and test it again. And it turns out I've got an Apple developer account, so I'm running the beta version of the brand new OS on my phone, and it won't work. So I built out this whole thing and spent all this time to help me solve a problem. right? Like, okay, how am I going to remember to get in my steps? How can it like, and how can I make it personalized for me? If I've already gone on my walk for the day, I don't need that reminder. Like, how can I make this personal? And I went through the trouble to try and figure out how to make it work for me, and it still didn't work. And for me, it's a little discouraging.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think there have been a couple of times that I have felt like it was a waste where I've devoted a lot of time into trying to build something, and then ultimately I just reach like this wall and I can't pass it. But what's really wild about that, with how rapidly this stuff is changing and developing, is like, give it 60 days, come back and try again. Because
Mhm.
honestly, the build out will probably be easier. It will most certainly be faster, and it will probably work. Maybe not in 60 days, but if you keep trying every 60 days, at some point it's going to work. It's
Yep.
what you think it should be possible. Oh, if you're thinking of it, the capability is already on its way.
Well, and the cool thing about Fable 5, and I don't know, do you have a max plan? Are you still
Yeah.
using? Okay, me
No, I
too.
had to max, because once I started dabbling into cowork, I was just like going through my usage limit so much more quickly
Yep.
that I was like, I cannot be up against this. I'm just going to have to pay for max. And honestly, it's worth it. Like, once you start using it, if you start hitting your limit, just give in.
I I totally agree. I also upgraded and I absolutely love it. And the thing that I love about Fable 5 is that you don't have to know how to solve the problem that you're giving it. You can give it the problem, you can give it the goal and tell it, this is what I need the end product to do. It will connect those dots for you and come back to you and ask questions along the way and help you kind of problem solve with it. But that Fable 5 preview where they first launched it and they gave us all a couple of weeks, and then they were like, "Oh, we're going to take it away." And then they didn't, and we got 2 more weeks, and then they were like, "Oh, we're going to take it away." And I was working so hard to try and get all the ideas out of my head and get them at least started in Fable 5 so that when it got taken away, which if you were on a max plan, it did not, but I didn't know that at the time, but so that I could at least get those projects started and then move them back over to Opus, to Sonnet for the grunt work.
I love that you brought up Fable. I was thinking we should have put that on the list of things to talk about, because when we had this limited window, I was trying to spend time on YouTube looking at what other people had built with Fable to try to see what's the difference. Like, what is the difference in these different kind of models, and like, what could I experiment with that would actually use Fable? And so many things that occur to me to build just flat out don't require Fable in order to do. As it is, I do sometimes use it. I'm currently working on a project, like all day in between meetings. I've been working on this. The projects that I have used Fable 5 for, I still use on low, because I don't want it to just use a ridiculous amount of credits unnecessarily. But I am primarily using it when I have like a plethora of data that needs to be analyzed. And that's
Mm.
the main time that I actually have been using it. Most of the actual like products that I have built out, I feel like can be done just as well without access to Fable 5. So I wanted to hear from you about what are you finding is best for Fable? And before you answer, I'll just like also say what I'm working on today is I'm I teach part-time public policy in addition to my business, and I'm teaching a new class this term. It literally starts, well, at the time that this airs, it'll have already started, but it literally starts 6 days from the time that we're recording this. And I just got access to like kind of the quote unquote templates of the class. But this has been through a couple of different iterations over the past couple of semesters. It's a pretty new class. they don't really know what they're doing with it yet. There's a lot of different versions that exist of the different slides, the different syllabi. The like course objectives are kind of the same, but everything else is different. And it is so many documents to get through for me to even plan what I want to do with mine. And so I actually have Claude accessing everything. I told it what the parameters are of what needs to be kept. I told it what's important to me and what my like kind of suspicions are of what I'm concerned about that class doesn't already cover. And then I let it go through a Google Drive folder of all of those documents, all of the iterations, and that I'm using Fable for. So I'm curious
Nice.
what
Okay.
Fable 5 to do, not 4, like FOR.
Well, I have a separate podcast episode on the things that I built with Fable
Okay.
5
Good,
during the
good, good.
preview. But I think the thing that they all had in common. So, for example, I rebuilt my client management system. I was using Dubsado, only using a fraction of the capabilities, and they
Mhm.
just raised their prices in the last like
Mhm.
6 months. And I, for a platform that I'm really not using a lot of the capabilities, I should just rebuild it myself. But what I had Fable do was I was like, okay, I used Dubsado. This is what I use it for. I want you to go out and learn about this software, what it does really well. Here is and it knows about my business. It's got my skills, it's got my brand. Like, okay, now my goal is to have a software that can do these main things and make it easier for me to do these things. Taking what you know about Dubsado, taking what you know about my business, let's build it. But it needs to be specific for me. And it did. And there was quite a bit of back and forth. I'm integrating it directly with Stripe. I'm integrating it with, I bought the agency version of BreezeDocs, which is, so it's the AppSumo folks. So I use TidyCal for my calendar scheduling, BreezeDocs for contracts, and then they have another one called SendBox, which is a free email platform. But I'm so tired of paying for subscriptions. So I just bought the lifetime subscription for those, and now I own them. And they're going to go into this new, I call it my home base. That's just what I called my app. And so now it's all in home base, and I don't have to pay a monthly subscription or like $500 a year for this anymore as soon as I
Great.
finish getting it hooked up.
Yeah.
I have a client I'm onboarding in a few weeks, and they're going to be my guinea pig, my first clients in the new system. But
Yeah.
I also wanted it to be a dashboard of how much money I've made over the year. I wanted it to be a light project management system, which Dubsado does not have. I don't need a client portal, which is one of the main features of Dubsado. Like, I don't need that shit. So why am I paying for all this extra stuff that I don't need? Invoicing I can just do straight through Stripe. So there were a lot of different factors that I needed it to weigh. The
It's
benefit to
Fable.
me versus, yeah, it being Fable. The
Yes.
benefits to me versus the cost. And
That's what I've really found for those of us who are, I'm going to call us casual builders, even though probably there are people who might hear this who might feel even more casual of a builder than we are. But compared to some of the, like, if you go on YouTube and you look at what people have built with Fable 5 or whatever, some of the I mean, people are building entire games, they're building,
yes,
and
yes.
like, I'm not doing that.
Mm-mm.
Not that I'm not interested in the YouTube video about it. I find them fascinating, but like, I'm not trying to build a video game out with AI. So that's not for me. But the times that Fable is a necessary model for me have been when it's synthesizing just an absurd amount of data. That is when Fable seems to be like the correct model choice.
I also built an entire app. Did I tell you this for my embroidery machine?
Yes.
Yeah. So that I'm planning to launch and potentially monetize. And
That's
it
awesome.
has helped me build that entire thing out. I also used, well, I did some of the design. I used Claude design to help then build upon that design. So I built the whole brand. And then I am continuing to use Fable to back into the marketing strategy of it.
That's awesome.
So I'm probably underutilizing it too, but I try and keep it to a minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Build out the very beginning pieces and then move it over to another model once the heavy brain work is done.
Yes. The whole concept of a minimum viable product is something that we got to explore together in a build-a-thon a year ago.
Yep.
And it was such a good exercise for me in that build-a-thon because the thing that I originally said was my minimum viable product, like I thought was already really scaled back, pared back, like I cut off all this extra stuff. And what I came to realize is that it actually really didn't meet the criteria for a minimum viable product at all, as in some of the examples that she gave us in that build-a-thon were like, I don't even remember the specific one, if it was a bicycle or a car. It could have been both that she gave us the example of. But essentially, like the minimum viable product that you need is like the mechanism to make the wheel turn, right? And wheels themselves.
I remember this example because when I do build-a-thons now, I use this same example.
Oh, okay.
If you want to get from point A to point B, you don't start by building the car. You start by building the skateboard. That is the simplest thing on wheels that you can build, that you can ride to get. And then from skateboard, you're going to add handles. So you're going to make it into a scooter. Okay, so now we've got the scooter. We've perfected it. We figured out how to turn. Now we're going to add pedals. And so you're just working your way up. You don't start with like, oh, I want to build this car. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build the wheels.
Exactly. So what I did, what I thought was like my skateboard was actually my car without the engine. It was just sort of like, I thought, see, look, I did pull out like the thing that's like the big hard part. So I should be able to do the rest of this, right? But actually, no, like go all the way back. And I think that actually lends itself really well to talk about the scheduling tool that I built out for my own podcast.
Okay, can we please talk about this? Because, all right, y'all. So Sarah has her own podcast and she has been inviting a group of badass women to be on her podcast. And she sent me this link and was like, hey, there are a couple of sessions that I think you should sign up for. I could tell she had built it because I know what to, but it was so cool.
So disclose that totally transparently. I was
like,
hey, this is an app that I built and hosted. Also, I'm hosting it for free on Superbase. And so when you go to log in with Google, it's going to look weird, but I promise you it's mine. So I also was transparent about that I built it. Yeah. And I know some people are very like, because the nature of this is inviting people who want to have like big, hard ethical conversations. And there are some people who have hard lines about AI. So that's part of why I was transparent that like, hey, I built this. So that if there were people who were like, I'm absolutely not clicking that link, you can't make me because I refuse to participate in your AI stuff, then that's their prerogative. But at least I was transparent about it.
Yes. So let's talk about, because you were trying to solve an obvious problem by building this. And it's very specific to you. There is not a software that exists that does exactly what you needed to do for this specific purpose. So you built it yourself. Let's talk about it.
So what I was looking for is, as you said, I did a season last year for my podcast, Big Brave Business, where I did these small group roundtable, almost like mini mind discussions. And so none of the sessions have more than like 5 people in them, including me. And we dig into like a big brave topic. And so the big brave topic is already determined. Now, what I need to do is be able to look at my schedule and schedule out sessions with assigned topics based on my availability with a limited number of seats available that people can then see the schedule, pick which sessions they want to sign up for, that they can see the details of what the topic is, when it is, what day it is. They can sign up for the ones that interest them and they are available during. Yeah. They also need to be able to add it to their calendar, and they need to be able to get reminders that the event is coming up. That was my criteria. I used addevent.com last year. And I did not like that I could not control the branding. I did have to pay $15 a month for it. And many people still missed the session because it didn't get added to their calendar and they didn't receive a reminder after RSVPing. They also could not simply find that link and log back in to see the sessions to change their RSVP or to add more RSVPs if they wanted to. So there were lots of things that just didn't quite work the way I wanted to with that. And I didn't like the $15 a month fee. And I also, I just didn't like the aesthetic of it at all. It didn't match my branding and I couldn't customize that without paying more money, which I was
Mhm.
not willing to do. So I tried to tell myself it doesn't really matter as long as it's functional, but I got frustrated when so many people ended up missing the session they signed up for because it wasn't added to their calendar.
Right.
So I wanted to create my own system, host it myself, have it built directly into my website so that it's at my bigbravebusiness.com domain. And I wanted people to be able to log in so that they could see the things they'd signed up for. And so, that's one of the things that I built with Claude. And I was able to, as you said, to use Claude code and tell it, this is what I'm trying to build. What are the steps in order to build it? Like, I need you to walk me through each step by step.
Yep.
And then I can use it still as a chat to say, like, can I do this? Or like, this is really important to me, but I don't know what that looks like. And it could tell me, especially if there were multiple ways. Okay, well, we can go this route or this route, right? So I was able to build this without adding any additional monthly payments to what I already pay, because I already pay for Claude. I
Right.
already pay for my domain. I already have a website, right? And so like I didn't have to add any new additional monthly fees to build this out. Now there's so many more features I've already added and also so many more that I'd love for it to be like a functional app. But the minimum viable product was I need to be able to get these recordings set up for the next season. And that is literally it. And then once that exists and it's functional, I can keep adding features from there.
I I love that so much. Just to reiterate for our listeners, if you are thinking about going and building something like this yourself, Sarah had already tried something that was on the market that did kind of what she needed it to do, but it wasn't quite right. And I hear this so much where we buy into these systems, into these softwares that do what we think we need them to do, but there's some type of friction that's either on our end as the builder and the person that's putting it out there to their clients, to their customers. So there's friction on our end, or there's friction on the customer end. And it's just annoying. Tech is just annoying. And so you learned from that, realized what worked, what didn't, and you used AI to build a version of that yourself, that a version without the extra friction.
Well, and before I jumped to building something myself, I did also leverage AI to do more research about the market to see what else exists already that I don't know about. What are the other options? If these are my kind of like you said about the thing that you built, your headquarters,
Yeah.
home
Home
base, your
base.
home base. If I these are my priorities. This is what I've tried before. Here's what I didn't like about it.
Yep.
What else exists? Like, find me another option. And none of the options that were available on the market met the criteria. There were compromises for all of them. So then I also negotiated with Claude in the chat mode of, okay, so what are the pros and cons to building my own using Claude Code? Here's how confident I am and am not. Here's what I have and have not done before. I love leveraging AI, so I'm totally down to try things, but I am feeling around in the dark. Like, I don't know what I don't know. And it was able to also walk me through where hidden expenses might exist, where
Hmm.
limitations might exist, and all of that. So that was really, really helpful.
Yeah, I had never put anything on Vercel before. I had never put anything on Railway before. Railway, it's costing me an extra $5 a month, but now I've got a couple little things there. But I, I love the way that for a non-coder, for somebody who has never done this before, it will tell you exactly like, okay, I put the files in this folder. You're going to connect this folder to the, like, it walks you through the entire thing. If you don't know what GitHub is, it will walk you through the entire process of setting up your GitHub and connecting your first repository. Like, you don't have to know. It will walk you through the whole thing. Did you have a Supabase account before you started this?
No, I did not. Well, okay. I don't remember ever having used it. I don't think I've ever created an account. However, an account already existed with my Google. So
Yeah.
that was the only thing is it told me what I needed to do to set up an account, what I specifically needed to select. And then that was not a choice because I had already logged in with Google at some point in the past, probably at a build-a-thon. But I had never actually used it. Like I had never gotten to the point where I had actually used it for anything. So, but it was able to walk me through all of that too. And I think that's like one of the things that's really cool about this is there's so many layers to how much you need to know and how much you need to be confident with. You can like work with someone like you
Yeah.
who will help you with the ideation of making it make sense of like let's take a business problem, I'll help you see how we can build a solution for it, and then I'll handle the actual build for you without having to pay for a team of developers and go through a year-long, like, development process.
Yep.
Or you can work with Claude and use Claude Code and use the desktop app and have it kinda do things for you
Yep.
to as much of a degree as you're comfortable, or you just use Claude to tell you what the steps are because you want to actually learn the more of closer to the development side, and you actually are doing it yourself, and Claude's just going to hold your hand to help you learn it. There's all those different
Yep.
stages of like whatever level you're comfortable with, you can do that.
I'm in that last stage where I'm having it walk me through things and explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So that way I've got the foundational knowledge next time I go to do it again. I've been doing that with Google Apps script as well,
Mhm.
which Lauren Irving, who ran our build-a-thon, introduced me to. So I've been using Google Apps script, and I could have Claude do it for me, but I'm the nerdy nerd that wants to understand how it works. And
Yeah,
so,
also, it's your specialty. It's what you
yeah,
are specializing in, so I
that's
think that
true.
makes sense.
So we've talked a little bit about the professional things that we're building. I know you are also, and I know this because I stole your idea, but I know you also built something for yourself. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, well, like I said, once you start doing it, you can start kind of retraining your brain for like, I could just build something for that. And I can see why your offer exists actually, because you also start to see it in conversation with other people. You're like, did you know you could just build something for that?
Yep.
So, yeah, so I'm starting to have that. And so this kind of happened to me where my library card expired and I tried to renew it online, but I've moved since I last got a card, and unfortunately, I was honest about that and said I moved, so now I have to go in person with my ID in order to renew my library card. If I had said I hadn't moved, I would just have a renewed library card. Anyways, all of that to say, my Libby access has been suspended, and I am a massive reader, so if you don't know
Wah,
what I'm talking
wah.
about, basically, it's just a way to borrow ebooks that will sync directly with your Kindle if you read on a Kindle.
Yeah, and it's
And it just
free.
uses a library card to give you access to the books that are available through your library. But my library card is expired, so currently I have 0 access to those books, and that means my reading options are much more limited. I either have to buy books until I can get my butt to the library during the hours that they're open, or I am stuck with Kindle Unlimited, which I do pay for, so I do have Kindle Unlimited, but the books that are available on Kindle Unlimited change all the time, like literally multiple times a day throughout the day. The Kindle Unlimited library is changing. Also, there are a lot fewer mainstream popular options on Kindle Unlimited. If you're not a reader, you wouldn't know, but it's just like these books are available to you at no additional cost if you pay for a Kindle Unlimited
Yep.
subscription. And it tends to be a lot of indie authors, up and coming authors, or established authors, but not their entire library of books, just
Yes.
like a couple of books from
Um,
an individual author.
side note, all of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books are currently available on Kindle Unlimited. So
Yeah, at least at the time of recording this,
at the
totally.
time of recording,
Yeah,
yes, all 8 books
great
are
shout
available.
out. Yes. And if you download the Kindle Unlimited version at no additional cost, once you've downloaded that according to your account, Audible, if you pay for Audible, sees that you own the ebook and will discount the audiobook for you. So then you can get the audiobooks and own them for like $5 a piece
Oh my gosh.
and then return the Kindle Unlimited book anytime you want. And then you still got the audiobook for $5. So that's
That's
like
amazing.
also a good hack.
Good to know.
So listen, if we're readers, we have to make this an affordable habit some way or another because it gets expensive quickly.
I
Anyways, I digress. So I was kind of exploring Kindle Unlimited and I was kind of frustrated because I was feeling like it was hard to find Kindle Unlimited books that were really scratching the itch for what I was in the mood for because the library is much more limited. So I built an app that looks at all of my tracked reading history, all of my tracked reviews, what my favorite 4 and 5-star books were ever since I started tracking my reading. So it analyzes all of that data to understand what books appeal to me and why. And then it has created a database, or it checks and creates a database, whatever, however you want to put that, of what books are available on Kindle Unlimited. So the app itself is totally personal. It's not posted on the internet. You cannot have access to mine. It just lives on my computer. And so it accesses the internet, but it isn't posted on the internet. And so first I put in my preferences of what I'm in the mood to read and what I'm specifically not in the mood to read. And then I hit submit and it forms a little spinner because gamify everything. It's
Yep.
fun, of like 20 or so books that meet the criteria that I specified on the first page that are all currently available on KU. And then I can spin it and it will give me a suggestion. And not only does it tell me just a one sentence blurb that doesn't give too much away about the book, it also says, this is recommended for you because you loved this other book that it already knows based on
Oh.
my reading habits. So then I can kind of get an idea of what it's like before, or what the app says it's like before I go into it. And then it gives me the option, do you want to spin again? Do you want to generate new options on the wheel that meet new criteria? Or do you want to go back and change what your stated criteria was? And so, yeah. And I can also mark a book as read so it will never recommend it again. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is fantastic. And have you used it lately?
So I've used it for 2 book recommendations so far, but I am reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, which was not part of the recommendation. So I'm kind of like going back and forth between like read a Dungeon Crawler Carl and then take a couple book break and read other things and then come back and read another one. So that's definitely slowing down my like non-dungeon crawler. There's 8 books out so far. If you don't know, get on the train. We're all Dungeon Crawler Carl readers these days. But anyway, so that has definitely slowed down my need for exploring other options on KU right now. But yeah, I've used it twice so far and it's been really fascinating.
I am guilt speed listening to the audiobook for my book club that's in 2 days because I've done nothing but read Dungeon Crawler Carl for like the last 3 weeks. Anyway, sorry, we will stop now. But no, so you sent me that app idea and we're telling me about it. You texted me, Sarah and I text back and forth. My book club has an ongoing problem where all of us are avid readers, not just of the book club books, but of books in general. But we all have so many books on our shelves, so many books that people recommend to us that we're like, oh my gosh, I really want to read this. And then we're all sitting around having wine, talking about our books. And we're like, okay, what are we going to read for next month? And none of us can remember what we want to read. And so I took your idea for the spinny wheel, but for our book club, I made an app where all 12 of us have access. And we can, throughout the course of the month, anytime somebody recommends a book or anytime we come across a book, we're like, oh my gosh, I really want to read that. And you can put in the title, the author, pull a description, whatever. And then while we're all sitting together, we can pull up the app, say, all right, this month we're in the mood to read a thriller. And it will do the same thing. So it pulls and we'll load up the spinny wheel and then we can spin the wheel and it will give us a recommendation for us to read for our book club that month.
I love that. The possibilities for a book club are endless as far as features you could do, because you can weight things. You can have like people take turns as to like who gets to pick which part, like the genre or whatever. Like there's so many things that could go into book club. I keep seeing all these reels of like, here's what we're not reading this month. And they like make cute content for their book club about that. And they do like these book wars of what people's ideas were. I mean, you could build all of that into an app. That there's just endless possibilities.
Yes, book talk is insane. We keep sending in our group chat, we send each other like, somebody did a spin the bottle, but it was like spin the person holding the wine bottle around.
Yeah.
There's like the books in a circle. And yes. So, maybe I should turn my spinning wheel. Maybe I should turn my spinner into a wine bottle emoji.
That would be funny.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so all of these little things, I keep coming back to this idea of using AI for personal. I hate this. I hate using this word in this way, but like the democratization of tech. But really, we all have access to the same models as Fortune 500 companies. I've said it before. I will say it again. Like it's really, really cool. We, the general public, have the same access to the same models. And so the ability for us as individuals, as small business owners, or just as regular people to now build something that is totally you, that solves a specific problem for you in your life, in your business, it's here. And I think that we are going to get closer and closer to a more personalized version of the internet. I mean, we're seeing that already with our algorithms and it's super annoying, but using tech for ourselves rather than depending on these giant companies with people in glass conference rooms deciding, okay, we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this thing because there's market viability. You're a market viability of one. And that's all you need to build the thing that is going to help make like your life easier.
Amen, sister.
Oh, we're here. We live in the future. Sarah.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. It's so cool. And thanks to you and to this podcast and to everything that you are doing with helping bring that to more people in an accessible way. I think it can feel overwhelming. It can feel daunting. We have so many things to learn. We have so many things to do. Like, how much is this going to cost me in both time and money? And also, I'm overwhelmed. I'm intimidated just because other people are having success with it. It doesn't mean it's going to come easily for me. Like all those things that come up for all of us. This platform that you've built with AI Queens is just one example of the work that you're doing that is helping all of us reach out and say like, hey, wait, I want to try. I want to see what I can do. I want to see what I can build. And so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I am actually looking for and opening up my doors for guests for the next season who want to come on to AI Queens and talk about a problem in their business or in their day-to-day that they think might be able to be solved with AI. And it's a new platform for this podcast. We're going to solve it together. So if you have a problem that you want to talk about on the podcast, my DMs on Instagram and on LinkedIn are open. You can find me at Erica the AI Queen. That's Erica with a K, the AI Queen on Instagram, or just Erica Stanley on LinkedIn. Or you can go to the AI Queens website. That's aiqueens.com/apply to apply to be on the podcast for season 3. Sarah, thank you so, so much for coming on and nerding out with me again about what you're building and what you're doing in your business with AI. I really appreciate your time and your expertise and your friendship. So thank you.
I gotcha, Erica.
All right, Queens, that's all we have for you today. We will meet you back here again next week. Thanks for listening to the AI Queens podcast. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow queen who needs to hear this. Want more tools and tips? Join the AI Queens Society over at aiqueens.com and start ruling your business with confidence today. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep reigning with AI.